I'm just gonna let it roll.
Too. I'm also letting it roll.
Let the good times.
Here we are.
Letting it roll. Hey guys, welcome to West Wing. Oh dang it! Welcome to Wingin It, the West Wing Podcast. My name's Andrea. I know the name of my own podcast, and this is Sallie.
Do you know the name? Welcome to the West Wing.
You know, it comes and goes. Welcome to the West Wing. We're so happy you could be here. No, we're talking about season 3, the actual beginning of season 3. Manchester parts 1 and part 2 combined.
This is a first for us. A 2 for 1.
It is. I don't know. Does it feel as momentous as it is? Are we?
It feels momentous to me.
Is the earth actually shaking? The podcast earth? Yeah. Well, we're just throwing off those pesky end of episode to be continued.
Yeah.
We're just throwing those off.
No.
We will not be hindered.
No.
So, how did you feel about the proper beginning of season 3, since we just covered Isaac and Ishmael?
I feel like we should sing because I felt good about it, and I'm ready to sing again. It's been a few episodes,
been a while.
but
okay.
I'm healing and it's time.
That's good. That's a good word.
All right.
Okay.
Okay.
I feel like you try to make it really legato. Like really just hold out the whole note.
I think that was as good as it could ever be.
Yeah, we should not even try to top ourselves. We should just cut that record and put it on iTunes.
No, we can't deprive the people of what they want.
Yes, we should not deprive the people of what they want. Welcome to Wingin It.
So now
we can talk about it.
Manchester. Yeah.
Parts 1 and 2. I will say, every time we say Manchester, I think of A, Manchester United, or B, Daphne Moon from Frasier, because she was supposedly from Manchester. So if I do this whole episode in a British accent, that's why. If it spontaneously happens.
In a Frasier accent.
Yeah. Daphne.
Yeah.
Okay, well, how should we recap, I guess? TikTok?
Yeah, let's recap.
You're so good at it,
because there's
Sallie.
a lot happening in parts 1. Okay, I'll take this one. So, gosh, there's so much going on. The president is launching his campaign, so they're traveling to give his sort of, I was about to say his coming out speech, but his speech declaring re-election, or declaring that he's running for re-election, even though he already declared it, so I don't know, there's some controversy about that. So he's coming to give his speech. Is this where is Manchester where they're going?
New
Why
Hampshire.
It's called Manchester? This is a stupid question.
Yes.
Here's the
Manchester,
thing.
New
We'll talk about this in a second. Let me finish the TikTok and we'll come back.
Pause.
So they go to Manchester and to give this speech. And we're flashing back from when they're there to also when he initially said he was running, which is where we left off with the 2 cathedrals. So we're sort of filling in this backstory. We've got a lot going on. We've got Josh and Big Tobacco, which is... he has released this memo and it's a whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
We'll talk about that. And he's dealing with that. We also have the FDA is about to announce RU486, which is a pill. And they're going to announce it the same day the president's running. So there's a whole deal with that.
Mm-hmm.
Oliver Babish is in and out. So we're talking about legal ramifications.
Yep.
We have the new campaign team coming in.
Yeah.
So we have Bruno coming in for the first time.
Yay.
The first time? Yeah.
Yes.
And we have 2 other campaign people, Doug and Connie. And CJ's having a hard time. There's a lot of stuff like forked off of that.
No, yeah, I think that's pretty much it.
That's the big thing. The president and the first lady are on the rocks. There's a lot of little storylines out of all of those things, but that's the gist.
Yes.
Whew.
Whew, good job. I know. It was a 2-parter. It was the beginning of season 3. You did that very well.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Feel good about
it. How did you feel about the episodes in general?
I felt good about the episodes. I felt like they there's so much happening. They covered a lot in these 2 parts, which that's why we're doing it. In case anybody's wondering, we were going to do these separately like we always do, but I think it would have been a disservice because it's so much easier to talk about the full storyline of something instead of having to like break it up. I think it'll be much better like this.
We try to right the wrongs of the West Wing. So like if ever that you feel like, oh man, that was really dissatisfying, then we try to fix it.
Which, something that's interesting is at the end of part 1, it says, the credit comes up and it says end of part 1. It doesn't say like to be continued.
Yeah, it's like a film strip.
It says end of part 1, which I thought was odd.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a film strip. I was like, oh, okay, end of part 1. It felt very formal. I was like, alright then.
Indeed.
But I felt good about it. There's a lot going on. How did you feel about it?
Honestly, when we were going to do it separately, and I watched just the first part, I was like, I was not satisfied at all. I actually really didn't like the episode because it wasn't gratifying as, like, we just came out of Two Cathedrals, the end of season 2. Right. We're about to kick off his campaign, and then the whole first part of this Manchester two-parter, I don't know, it just felt very, like, heavy, but not in an emotional way, just kind of an intense way. And, I don't know if
it just felt a little lacking.
It did. It felt very...
Like, I didn't care about it as much.
The energy of it.
I wasn't as invested.
I didn't like... Yeah, it didn't have the energy that I wanted from a season premiere, I guess is what it was lacking for me. So, I was glad when we decided to do part 2, because I feel like what part 1 was lacking was made up for in part 2. So.
I agree. I feel like part 1 sort of set it up, and part 2 sort of spiked it.
Part 1's like the Jan Brady, and part 2 is like the Marsha.
Yeah, I think that part 2 really steps up the whole average. Because it was more satisfying. It tied up more loose ends. There was more oomph to it, more emotion and feeling, I guess. For me, anyway. That as a whole, they were good. So, where to even begin?
Where to begin? I mean... There are new characters. I feel like that's a good spot to begin.
Yeah, that is a good spot. How do you feel about the new characters?
Bruno! I love Bruno. I enjoy him almost all the time. I don't know why. I think I am a sucker for those like really confident, charismatic dudes. And I obviously he's smart. And he's like negotiating with the president and with Leo. I'm not so wild about his other sidekick, Doug. I mean, he's fine. Really? Like, he's fine. He doesn't bother me, like, as an actor. I think he is an agitator in his function on the team, and you need someone like that on the team to shake it up. Otherwise, you're going to get what you've always gotten. So I understand that, but I was kind of siding with the West Wingers, where I was kind of like, do we need these outside people? And then there's Connie Britton. And again, the whole, like, Connie thing was a little, so it breaks the fourth wall for me, I guess is the best way to put it.
Oh, I love when characters are named their actors' names. I don't know why, but I think it's funny. But I agree, it breaks the fourth wall. When they first called her Connie, I was like, what?
I know, did they do it wrong? Yeah. I mean, I loved Connie Britton, and how fun is it that she's on the show? There's so many good people on the show. Mm-hmm. So,
yeah.
In terms of
She's wonderful.
In terms of the newbies, it just feels we're going to have plenty of new people as the seasons go on. But luckily, this is just for a time.
I feel sort of indifferent about Bruno. And not because like he lacks emotion. Like, it's not that like I just don't care enough about him. Sometimes I like him, sometimes I really don't like him. I like the purpose that he serves. I like how different he is from Leo, and I like what he brings out in Leo. I loved the scene of him trying to negotiate with Leo and then trying to negotiate with the president. Yes. I thought that was great. That whole, for those who don't remember, he gives Leo his list of like non-negotiables for coming to work there, and it's like a car and a room, and he has to have
13
full access to the president. 13% and Leo says
of the
no.
ad buy. Yeah, and then Bartlett brings him down to 12%. Just
without even doing
anything because he's the president. He's awesome.
Yeah, and then no, he doesn't get full access because that's what Leo does. So I really liked that. Mm-hmm. The whole scene. I like Bruno's reaction to it and all that jazz. I like Doug and I like Connie. I love the dynamic between Doug and Toby.
Sure.
Because I totally see what you're saying about why do we need these guys. that's how the West Wing is feeling. Like, why are we bringing these people in? And Toby's sort of got a chip on his shoulder because it means he's not doing his job or whatever. So I totally get that side of it. But then I feel, and I think they do a good job of making you feel Doug's side too, that he's like, why do you hate me? Like, I'm just in here trying to do my job. Like, you know, like, let me do my job too. Mm-hmm. So I like the whole dynamic of, like, bringing in the new team. It's like in the Mighty Ducks, too, when they bring in all of the new kids to be on the Ducks.
Yeah.
And they have to figure out how to work together.
Gotta keep on quacking, guys.
Yep.
Gotta keep the Sheen happy.
So.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, so they just need to figure it out.
New people, and, I mean, Toby's not easy to get along with, even if you do know him. So I kind of feel bad for them coming into this.
Yeah. Well, but I think that their scenes together are so great, which is later in part 2. Mm-hmm. But when they have that scene in the kitchen, I think that's when he tells him, "You guys are so pissed at him, you don't even know it." I think so. That scene, them arguing of that, is really great. Teaching you how to not bother anybody, all of that's really great.
Yeah, because that's the point.
They just have a good dynamic.
Because that's the part where they kind of point out, like, that the staffers haven't quite dealt with the cover-up of the MS and all the implications. They kind of just had to jump into this re-election, and how do we, like, can we still, is he even going to run, first of all? Second of all, there was just a lot going on. And obviously not all of them have had time to adjust to this news. And I think somebody even says that. I think Sam is still sassy.
Yeah, Sam says some of us have had more time.
To digest that than others.
Yeah, that was intense.
Yeah. So there's that.
But yeah, they're still, because also with that, they're debating a lot in these episodes about whether the president should apologize, and the fact that he has not apologized. And that's a big debate. Do you think he should, like, I mean, how do you feel about it?
Oh, if he should have apologized?
Yeah.
Man, this is like if I were on the hypotheticals, man. It gets me. Well, let's play it out. If he did apologize, then that implies wrongdoing, and then that could really lead him down the whole road of impeachment or trying to cover it up. I don't know. I don't feel like he can actually apologize without implying guilt. So I guess the question is, like, is he actually guilty?
Right. I think that's what it goes back to, that line I loved from Sam in Two Cathedrals or before it. Whenever Sam said, we either did something wrong or we didn't. Mm-hmm. And I think that goes back to the apology thing. Like, if you're going to say, hey, you know, because I think you could say, like, hey, we messed up, we should have done this better, without saying, like, hey, we did intentionally deceive you, da-da-da-da. Like, I think they could finesse it in a way that it would work.
Yeah.
But I definitely think he should have apologized. I think it would be better to apologize and to take that than to act like you didn't do anything wrong. Because I don't think at this point you can deny that you did something wrong. Because no one knew about it. I don't know. It was just such a huge thing. Which also, there's a scene. Oh, I completely forgot about all the Haiti stuff. There's stuff going on in Haiti, too. But there's a scene in one of the flashbacks after he announces where they're in the Situation Room and he's about to leave, and the whole Situation Room stands up and applauds him for saying that he was going to run again. Right. And that scene was very strange to me. Because, what about, like... Well, I guess, okay, this is me being dumb. Does the president appoint everyone that's in the Situation Room?
Or somebody on his staff.
Because I was about to say, like, what about bipartisanship? Or are these all appointed officials that would be on... okay, well, that part aside, sorry, guys. Someone will write in and tell us.
An interesting thought.
I feel like I should have questioned that before. But when they all stood up, I was like... all of them, this whole room full of people is on his side. I just thought that was odd. And then second of all, we're applauding, like I support his courage and his gumption and his whatever to run again. You really care about him, but like, okay, also there was like a little bit of wrongdoing. Like he also just announced to the American public that he had lied about a disease. So, I don't know. I just feel odd about it.
Yeah. No, I understand that. It was a nice kind of...
I feel personally victimized by President Bartlett.
You feel like he owes you an apology? Yes, I agree. I understand that. I understand the need to apologize. It's too late to apologize.
So what else is going on? We can talk about Josh and Big Tobacco.
I love that we just call it Big Tobacco because we have no specifics of like names or what they really did, or are they just being sued because they, I don't know.
They're being sued because they lied to the American public, which, whatever.
How?
Not whatever, but yeah. I mean, it's been printed on cigarette boxes for, I don't know. I mean, not that Big Tobacco's good. I'm not on Big Tobacco's side. But
exactly.
I don't know. Anyway.
We're on default Josh Lyman's side. So, I mean,
but
it's like whatever.
Pam, our favorite Pam, who writes on all the time, she does not like this storyline. And I have to say that I agree with her because I don't like, they make it seem like such a huge deal. Like a couple times when he's talking to people, he accidentally says tobacco instead of what he's supposed to be talking about. And my reaction to that was like, really? Are you so traumatized that you like forget what you're talking about?
I didn't notice that. But that's a good point.
It happens twice where he says, like, I can fix this, I can fix tobacco. Or he says something about, like, let me call the whatever committee it is when he means the FDA. And, like, I think he does it to Leo and to Donna.
Okay, but that's different, though, to me. Because I feel like at that point, I think that was in part 2, maybe? Because that eventually goes into the scene with Donna where Josh tells her, like, I screwed it up. I might have cost us this upcoming election because the way I handled the tobacco thing, he could have brought over 3 swing states if he had handled it differently, if he had not leaked that, whatever, hit the press release, even though Leo told him to light him up, which is ironic kind of phrase. But I think at that point, he personally was feeling in the doghouse because of how he handled it, so he was trying to get back into Leo's good graces. And so he's still very much thinking about that. And I think that's why he accidentally said it. Not because of the actual issue with Big Tobacco, but more the issue with him saving face
being
and saying,
traumatized about messing up. Yeah.
Yeah. That makes sense to me, though.
I don't know. It sort of makes sense, but, like, everyone told him to release, like, it's not like he just flew off the handle. Like, Leo told him to. CJ told him to sit on it, but then he, she didn't say don't do it. She just said, like, it might have to wait a while. So it felt, ugh, I just don't like that. And also, the thing about it is that the consequences, he could have won them these extra states. He could have done it better, but he did not lose those states. Does that make sense? Like, it would have been, it would have been awesome if you hadn't done this. If you'd done it differently, we could have won those states. However, it doesn't mean that they will not ever get them back. So that's what it doesn't, like, I would understand if, like, oh, crap, I permanently lost us these huge 3 swing states. Then that would have carried a little more weight for me. I don't know. The whole storyline, I was just like, do we just need to give Josh something to be sad about? Is that what we're doing here? Like, every season, Josh needs to have something to, like, cry about?
I'm okay with it.
Fine, yeah. I mean, I like the wounded little Josh, but...
I love that scene. I love the scene where Donna comes in and he's been, like, up all night and...
I do, too, yeah.
Stressing out about it, and she's trying to get him ready.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
is like he's so good at that, and it's so good in that moment that, like, really we're developing this storyline just for that scene, which, all right.
But it also raises the stakes for the re-election, too. Because I think if we didn't have this storyline in play... Then, well, I mean, we still have the MS thing, but this really, like, puts it over the top that it's going to be a close race. You know?
Yeah.
So, it just stacks the deck against us in a dramatic way.
Ooh. So much good re-election stuff to come. Did you have anything else that stuck out?
Well, I mean, just
a million things.
most of the 2 episodes, I wouldn't say most of them, but this is probably the most that we've seen our West Wingers off campus.
Yeah, so far.
On a farm, no less.
They went to LA, but only for that one episode. So, how did you feel about the flashbacks in this episode, by the way? Like, how did you feel about the setup of the episode?
Okay, I was a little confused with the timeline on this one.
It didn't feel like far enough back to flashback. Like, we've done the flashback thing. It didn't, and it works so well in some places. Like, last season premiere, obviously, when we're flashing back to, like, when they met and everything, that was great. it felt too close. It felt unnecessary to me. We could have just told the story.
They could have just gone in order. Yeah.
Yeah,
totally.
There's so much meat there already that the flashbacks didn't feel like they added anything for me personally. I mean, it's still great. It just was like, you have so much storytelling going on already that you don't need it. Like, it would have been fine in order. So.
True. Are there other things that you did especially like? Like, I enjoyed the fact that the intro scenes at the beginning of seasons are longer. I just think it's fun.
Oh, I didn't notice.
Gives you... Yeah, they're a little bit longer, and it makes you feel like you're catching up with people on the first day of school. You know, it's like, oh, hey, what have you been up to? Okay, cool, and now let's sing.
I loved, as like rough as it is, I loved CJ's storyline of messing up at the briefing and sort of feeling uneasy. I thought it was great for Alice and Janie. I thought she did a great job with it. I mean, as much as I don't like, you know, it's not like, oh, hey, you messed up. Yay. It was a great storyline. And she says, so she's frustrated about all the questions at the press briefing, and she says...
she's getting beaten.
Yeah, she's just there question after question, and they're talking about Haiti and the MS, and they're asking if he's... I think they're like asking if he's like okay to deal with the Haiti or to focus on Haiti, and she says, to be honest with you, I think the president is glad to be focusing on something that matters, or relieved to be focusing on something that matters, and that was a no-no.
Oh man!
But it was such a good scene because you can see her getting more and more flustered, and then the after scene when Toby it's either Toby and Sam or Toby and Josh. Somebody comes up to talk to her, and she's like, she does a great job there.
Yeah, she was my MVP for the first half of this episode, for sure. She's the clear winner for me. Yeah, I obviously don't enjoy when she messes up either. I can't believe, I mean, she's such a pro. I mean, I feel like I would mess up in that job every day.
Yeah.
Just from the way that they parse words. I mean, I would... Exactly. I like the idea of it. I like the idea more of what Toby and Sam do, because that way you can kind of get it locked down.
Hers is so on the fly.
She has to be on the fly, yeah. I mean, sakes alive, whatever they're paying the press secretary, they need to double it. So,
but her storyline culminates in the blow up scene. Oh, she also has a pretty fiery scene with the first lady where she's trying to get a photo op of them. And the first lady is like, don't come to me with unnamed sources. CJ's whole storyline is great for me in these both parts.
Except for the resignation part.
Oh, yeah. Wait, what part about it don't you like? That she's considering it?
Yeah. I mean, it seemed a little drastic to me. And they don't even name it for a while. It's just that Toby's like, I heard about what you're thinking about doing. And at that point, I was like, what? What? Right.
Well, and then she has the scene with Leo where she tells Leo, like, I wish you hadn't told Toby, or like, in the future, like, it's my business. I can't remember the exact wording. And Leo's like, I'll tell whoever I want, whatever I want, whenever whatever. And they sort of blow up a little bit at each other. Like, I'm full on CJ's side on this. Like, I get that Leo's the chief of staff and whatever, but like, she came to you in confidence and told you this, and like, she hasn't even decided anything. Like, it's not your thing to I don't know. Ugh.
But do you feel like that makes sense, that she would want to resign? Why does she want to resign?
I don't really think I have any evidence to back this up, but I think it's a mixture of everything. I think she feels like she's lied to the American people about the MS. I think she feels lied to about the MS. I think she feels like she messed up. She feels tired. She's not sure if she can keep going and handling it. I think she's probably not sure if she wants to. I think she might feel like, I'm about to get in this huge battle that I didn't sign up for. I don't know, because I hate to think of her as like backing away from a fight, which she doesn't in the next episode. But I don't know. I think it's just a mix of everything. I think it's a perfect storm of all of it.
Man, and then when she has that scene with Leo is tough, and you feel for CJ. But then she goes to the president, who at this point had not yet apologized to anybody, and nobody had realized that they were still mad at him. Kind of all this latent anger, as they would say. And President Bartlett says to CJ, like, don't be a marriage counselor, it pisses me off. And I mean, he's so nonchalant when she says that she's thinking about resigning after this. And she yells at him.
Yeah, she does.
Ooh.
She says, "Don't you dare lecture me."
Don't you dare lecture.
Straight up yelled at him. Yeah. And then it's a great scene for both of them, because that's when the president goes into his thing about, I was never supposed to win. Like, I just got into it to give a few speeches and da-da-da-da. And that was a great scene for both of them, but very intense scene.
It's a pretty quick turnaround for him. Yeah. But I guess it's not every day that he gets yelled at by Claudia Dean, so maybe that's what he needed.
So true. Yeah, I think her raising her voice to him was probably like, whoa, what's going on
Yeah, wake up call.
Yeah.
Yeah, normally it's just Abby raising her voice at him. Let's talk about that.
Or Toby.
Or Toby, yes.
Yeah. Let's talk about them fighting.
Ooh, Trouble in Paradise is what I wrote, because she's mad. Because Bartlett, as much as we loved the fact that Bartlett got up there, rainy hair, dire straits, like, you bet I am and I'm going to win sort of thing.
Yeah.
He definitely didn't run that by his wife. And if you don't recall from last season, they had a deal. So.
Yeah. That was tough. Also, wait, pause while we're talking about this. In the opening, when we're seeing they're replaying, they start off by showing what we just saw in Two Cathedrals. Like, they show the press conference again, and he says, yeah, and I'm going to win, blah, blah, blah. And if all of you listeners will remember from Two Cathedrals, I said that his pause was way too long before he said yes. Well, in this replay, it is shorter here. And I think it's the perfect length in this replay, and it feels way too long in Two Cathedrals. But right here, because he should pause, it should be dramatic, it should be whatever. In Two Cathedrals, it's just like 2 beats too long. It goes from dramatic pause to, oh, our president is insane. And in this one, it is exactly what I think it should be.
It fit better.
So, there we go. But back to...
Well, it could have been for musical effect for the first one. Like, maybe they needed to get to a certain part in the song. And apparently, and I love that people send us wisdom and things that we don't know, but somebody from Twitter, I apologize, I can't remember who, said that Aaron Sorkin never had a question in his mind about what song was going to end season 2.
Yeah.
It was always going to be that one. Cool. So there you go.
Mm-hmm.
We have an actual answer. Maybe that's why it was so long.
The thing that I think is interesting about the president and the first lady arguing is that they don't really resolve it, which I kind of like. So they're mad at each other, and the president is like, doesn't have time to fight, or he says he has a lot to say when it first happens, but he doesn't have time, and then he has nothing to say, and da-da-da. They're going back and forth about this for a long time, or for the period of this flashback, and it leads up to when they're making the announcement, and it's not until the limo ride over that they sort of resolve it, and even then, they don't really resolve it. They've just sort of moved on, because she says, I'm thinking about voting for you.
Which was
and that's
super
sort
sweet.
of how it's really sweet. And that's sort of how they move on. And I kind of think I don't know if I want to say it's realistic. It's interesting to me how they do it. It doesn't have to be a big thing. They've just had their time to be mad. They both already know, like, what the other one is thinking, what the other one's going to say. And then they just are married and move on. That's just the way they do it.
Yeah, I mean, because I don't know how else they would get there. The real issue is, the issue is that she's concerned about his health and doesn't want him to die and all that kind of stuff. But she also knows that she's not going to, the train's already on the tracks. So she's not really going to stop it. So they just need to deal with the actual relational issue, which is, you don't listen to me, you don't confer with me, you make decisions without me, like that kind of piece. And apparently that they just needed time to simmer. Man, there's so many other, tiny things that I like. The Toby and the signs that say Bartlett for president.
Oh my gosh.
And,
yes, how can I talk about that? That's one of the most iconic things, I think, is Toby trying to fix those signs. And somebody even says, we're working on it or we're fixing it. And Toby's like, no, I'm fixing it. And he's, marking out the Bartlett for president. That's great. There's a shirt on Etsy that I really want that says that has, the little marked through.
In case anyone has any last-minute Christmas ideas for Sally.
That's one of my favorite things, really. I think it's one thing that sticks out to most people. There are other fun things, in the opening of part 2 when they're in the barn and CJ sees the snake.
Yes.
And she's like quietly freaking out about it, and then Josh is like, okay, I see the snake too. That's pretty funny.
The whole rhythm of the first scene, like I said, the second part of this episode really made up for everything that I felt the first one lacked, and including like the comedic timing. The whole first scene of part 2, it's just everybody's topping their lines. The cues are quick. It's quippy, but it moves. I love that whole first scene. It's great.
I agree, totally. There's a Dr. Kevorkian reference. Yeah, the whole thing is really good. It's a great way to open after a not as strong episode. What else? Oh, there is a scene that I don't like, but only because it like kills me, is Oliver Babish coming to see Charlie. And I think this was in part 1. And essentially telling him he needs a lawyer, and that they're like coming for him, and Charlie's like, I don't need a lawyer, like I'm not gonna whatever, or I'm not, like I just answer honestly. And he's like, well, they're gonna ask you questions 1 month and come back again a month later, and if you don't answer exactly the same, they're gonna whatever, they're gonna call you out on it and notice it, blah blah blah. And it's like $100,000 minimum.
So where's he going to come up with that?
Right.
Is that why he took the pool bet with Toby? That's kind of how they framed it. And I was like,
he's got to get some money.
How's he going to pay for it?
I just hate that, because we just love Charlie and we don't want him to be in trouble.
Yeah, and really, how's he going to pay for it? How are any of them going to pay for it? Because I don't think they even make that much.
They don't make that much, but I think the other ones of them, like Sam and Josh, I imagine have money saved up. I guess I don't really ever think about Toby's finances, but Sam we know was making bank beforehand. CJ too.
True. So it's really just Josh and Toby and Charlie and Donna. I mean, what about everybody else?
Yeah, what about Donna? We'd have the same thing with Donna. Although also I wrote down that Charlie doesn't ever seem old enough to be drinking to me. Like when they're drinking in the bar, I'm like, you're a kid. But
I wrote that I really loved him in that environment. Like he already just seems so grown up and confident and so manly, like playing the pool. I'm like, I like this. I like this Charlie.
I agree. Cool dude. 2 things about some of the bar scenes. At one point, when we first pan to Sam and CJ, I'm pretty sure that Don't Rock the Boat is playing. And right when they start talking, Rob Lowe is like dancing a little bit to the music.
Please.
Like just a
I
smidge.
Love anytime he dances.
He's just like barely moving, but like you can see his back sort of like shaking to the beat, and that was pretty funny. And then Toby asks CJ if she wants to play pool, and he says, want to play pool? And she says, I don't know how to play pool. Want to play for money then? Sure. What? No.
It's great. I love the whole pool thing in general.
Yeah. I agree.
And it's fun to see them in normal people settings that we don't normally get to. Like houses. We hardly ever see them in a house.
Yeah.
Even though it's Bartlett's house.
There's also a scene with Josh and Donna where they're in the bar. I agree. I like all the bar scenes. They're very laid back, very just like, oh, we're just hanging out. But Donna's like eating all of Josh's food. That was pretty cute.
Mm-hmm.
But I do wonder sometimes, and it's the newsroom that has made me wonder this, whenever they're drinking, I always wonder, like, how can they drink ever? Because what if they need to, like, jump into action and then, like, their decisions could be impaired? I don't know. It just makes me so nervous that, like, as soon as you've had a few beers, some sort of international crisis would pop up. And, I mean, and I get it's different for, like, the president or for, like, Leo, like, because our other guys aren't really making that many decisions, but still, like, what if you're like, oh, your deputy chief of staff was drunk when you decided to do such and such? You know?
Yeah, they probably can't really get drunk unless they're very high functioning drunks.
So maybe they just have a beer. I mean, obviously there's
probably just odd drinks,
but they just can have a beer or two. Okay, fair enough.
I really liked this scene with Margaret when she's trying to tell Leo that there's a process for making appointments because apparently he set up the appointment with Bruno. She's like, "No, do I need to remind you of how we do this? Because I've so been that person in the office trying to train my boss on like processes that I've implemented."
It's just all of their interaction. Margaret and Leo's interaction is wonderful. really. I mean, every time we get to see her sort of giving him a hard time is great for me.
Yeah, it's fun. It's a fun time.
Other important things, Joey Lucas was here for a little bit.
She was. She stopped by.
So they did new polling. Because the other poll, for a plethora of reasons that they all name over and over and over again, the new poll, the old poll was no good because it was just about a governor, whatever it was. It didn't apply, so they did new polling, and of course, Bartlett's in the ball game by like 1 point. Right. But he's in the ball game, so that's good. And
but I love that they just threw out the whole polling that they thought was a good idea the last time she was there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're like, funny. Oh, yeah, that was terrible.
Right.
I also like that they all look like drowned river rats. Like, they all just walked in the rain. Apparently, Josh missed the motorcade, which is not the first time this is going to happen. So it's kind of a preview of season 4. Golly,
that was pretty hilarious.
To season 4, kind of.
There's a lot of good lines. Obviously, it's 2 episodes worth, so, like, forgive us for not mentioning all the good lines. But, like, Toby and Leo are talking, and they're talking about the president and the first lady. And one of them says, we don't need to be marriage counselors right now. And the other one says, no, we should, because you and I would be really good at it.
Yeah.
They're both divorced. Get it?
Ba-dum-bum. Yeah. There was a good SAT word. Torpor? I can't even say it. I didn't even take the SAT. Torpor.
I can't say it, but I know what you're...
Torpor?
Torpor?
Means apathy and dullness.
For some reason, I can't pronounce it right now.
People are feeling right now.
God. There's also the scene in the Situation Room where I don't want to say the attack for Haiti is going on, but whatever, they're taking the helicopters in, and so they're listening to this happen, and it's just like sort of silent, and like they're waiting, and golly, wouldn't that drive you crazy? That would be so intense.
Yes.
It would be incredibly intense. And then Cobra 1 gets hit and takes fire, and it's just dramatic. And I cared about this storyline more in this episode than I had in the previous 2. I was like, whatever.
Yeah, there was more to actually look at. It was less just talking about it. So I think that always helps. I liked when... I can't remember who said it. It was toward the end of episode 2, where he said, it's not our job to appeal to the lowest common denominator. It's our job to raise it.
It was the president.
It was, the president. Because that seems to be Sorkin's ethos.
Yeah.
And it just felt like that was bleeding through. So I'm like, I can get behind
Sorkin
that.
for sure has that like on a plaque somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And that he reads every day.
Plaques are pretty short, so that's okay to read every day. I kind of liked how they were in a classroom at the ending. Did you? Or did it feel too schmaltzy? I kind of liked it.
I liked it. It didn't feel too
slightly Full House-ish.
I like when he's apologizing and they're sort of the camera's like very slowly panning over our people. I like that they sent the other people out of the room, like Connie and Doug aren't there, and
just
he's apologizing to them. Yeah, just the family, and so I thought that was a good scene. And then when they all walk out and stand behind him, and Charlie and Donna are sort of standing back. The whole ending was great to me. With Dr. Bartlett introducing him, it was a good wrap up. It felt.
Yes.
It was much more satisfying than part 1, because part 1 wasn't, that's why it's part 1. It wasn't meant to be satisfying, but it wrapped things up neatly, but not too neatly. It was just good.
I wonder why, or at what point he decided that this is going to have to be a 2-parter. Like, was there really nothing he could get rid of to make it a 1-parter? Or do people do that on purpose? I feel like that's kind of a common thing that screenwriters do at the beginning of seasons, because you have this cliffhanger from the last one, and they want to make sure that you keep watching the next one. You know, so they do another cliffhanger.
It gives you breathing room to really unravel everything and really, like, weave your story, you know? For so much going on with all the MS, I think it lets him, because it's more of a movie, honestly. I mean, if you put these 2 episodes together, obviously you would need the beginning part, you would need, the 2 cathedrals. If you put those 3 together, it'd be a great movie. So I think it's just, I don't know, and to keep people watching other than just the first episode.
I think that's what Scandal does every episode. There's a cliffhanger in every episode. And it's that curiosity gap, man. I fall for it every time. Every single time. Same. Yeah, but I did like how they ended it when he's just says, like, break's over.
Yeah.
It's like, it was another, like, let Bartlett be Bartlett moment. And it's like, okay, here we go. We are up for re-election, season 3.
Yeah. I also loved, I know we talked about this for a second, but about Sam saying the some of us had more time than others. But I really did, it's worth mentioning again because that was a really intense moment for Sam. And I like that everybody sort of gets moments to show how they're dealing with it. Because Toby got like a whole episode. But I like that they're not just sweeping under the rug how everybody else is dealing with it. Because then Sam later like apologizes to Leo, which I don't know that he should have. I mean, maybe he shouldn't have gone off on him in his office, but like Sam has every right to be upset. So
yeah,
whatever.
That kind of hits most of the things for me.
I know everything else is just little lines. Like Bartlett, when Bartlett's deciding, Leo's telling him about the RU-486, and Bartlett's like, you know, there's always going to be something going on. Like if we announce next week, they're going to hand out subpoenas next week. Like it's game time, let's go. And they're talking about what kind of excuse they could come up with, and he says we could always just say I have MS, and that was pretty funny. There's also Toby and Sam. I think it's Toby and Sam are talking earlier in the episode, and somebody says we're going to have to take the first lady's temperature, and the other one says okay, you first. Yes. Like that too. They don't want to mess with the first lady.
Or when Sam and Toby start saying the same thing at the same time.
Yeah.
Toby's like, okay, let's try not to do that a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, there were just so many good lines worth mentioning, because there's so much in this episode. So, yeah, I don't know. Oh, and Sam's storyline gets wrapped up with Leo is sort of talking to Sam about stuff, and I can't remember what they actually said. But then Sam turns around and says the same thing to Connie about, I think it's about him apologizing. And I thought that was interesting. That was a interesting turn of that. Is that, because I don't know that Sam was totally convinced of what Leo was telling him, but his loyalty's to the president, so that's what he turned around and told Connie.
Right.
He wasn't going to jump on Connie's bandwagon of being like, yeah, I'm mad about this. So
yeah, his allegiance was more important than his vulnerability.
Yeah.
Yep.
Somebody said you guys are never happier than when you're educating the public, and Sorkin also has that on a plaque somewhere.
He's got a lot of plaques going on. I hope he has good wall space.
A whole room full of plaques, probably.
And awards. And I hope he's making space for the Steve Jobs movie awards.
Hopefully yeah. Oh, yep.
Who am I? Yes, we will. Well,
I guess that's it.
I think that's it. I think we will...
MVP?
What? MVP? I picked CJ for the first one. I didn't pick anybody for the second one.
I think I probably picked Bartlett, honestly. President Bartlett, not Dr. Bartlett. But I think I like that he apologizes. I like that he's ready to go. I just like it. And CJ too. Well, whatever. All of them.
I'll give CJ the one for the first one, and then Bartlett gets the second one. So both were covered. Cool. All right. Well, if you have thoughts or feelings, you can send them to us, and we'll read them. TheWestWingPodcast@gmail.com. Or you can hit us up on Twitter or Instagram at WinginItPod, or on the Facebook page, messages, whatever. And we'll catch you guys next episode for episode 3, right?
Ways and Means.
Love it. Can't wait.
That's it.
All right. Toodaloo. See ya.
Bye, guys.